All right, today we are going to learn about circuits and simple circuits and some things that you can do besides just building circuits. So we want to make sure that you have certain supplies. And so we're going to get to those supplies in a minute because I'm going to show you the old school way of how we did circuits, and it's very similar to the picture you see. Then I'm going to show you a new school way, a new technology that we've been using for, several years, but it's really easy to get those materials. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop sharing and show my circuit. And so what we have is we have our battery, and with our battery we have two pieces at the end. We have those metal pieces that connect to our positive or negative terminal, and I have two alligator clips with wires. So I'm just connecting those at the end, and this is what we used to do, in science class, and connect those. And then I have one bulb with two wires. So I connected my alligator clip at the end. And then on the other end, I'm going to connect. Now, in order for the light to work, we need to have a system. So it's a circuit. So we have a circular piece right here because this is just a simple circuit. And so, or a series circuit. So if I connect the wire, the light will work. Okay, so this is the way we used to do it, old school. And then we definitely can see this in some items that we notice around our home, maybe even during Christmas time with Christmas lights. We can definitely learn a lot about electricity just with this one piece. But to kick it up a notch and do some new innovation, I found this paper online, and it's a simple circuit. And what we're going to do is we're going to use copper tape. Now, this is very thin copper tape, and this copper tape is known to use for gardeners to put into their garden to keep the snails away. And so when you can get this in the hardware store, or you can get it online. There's two different types. There's one that's really thick copper tape, and that one's going to be a little bit more difficult for younger students to use, but you can get some scissors and still use it. This one's a little bit thinner, and the copper is a sticker. So we're going to check that out. So this is what you normally would get online and when you order it. So I already have my copper strips are ready to go, and they have a little sticker piece on the back. And what I'm going to do is just follow the directions on the page or the outline. So I'm just going to come across, and sometimes what happens is the copper tape ends up twisting. So you definitely want to have extra pieces just in case the students cannot. Yeah, I've already messed it up. We're gonna have to try it again. So, and it happens in science. All right, so let's try this again. So I'm going to start from the circle down at the bottom. It doesn't matter where you start. And I'm just following this line. And then what I want to do is make sure my next piece is going to go from this corner, and it has to overlap. So in order for that current to continue, they need to overlap. If it doesn't overlap and it's just touching the line, the circuit will not work. So you need to make sure you overlap. Now, if you notice, you're going to have an LED light. And so this is what your LED light looks like. And you notice that it has a short end and a longer end. And on the simple circuit, you can see how those pieces fit in there. So you have the short end and the long end. If a student messes up and does it the opposite way, it'll still work. Okay, so that's not a problem. So the main thing, if you notice, is you don't want the two pieces of copper tape to touch in the middle. That's where the LED light is going to go across and connect those two pieces. If we have that piece that goes all the way across and touches, we're not going to have a light bulb that lights up. So I'm gonna go ahead and measure off my little pieces, and see this copper tape is really easy to use because you can just tear it. If you want to use scissors, you're more than welcome to, but it's really easy to use. So we're gonna continue our circuit. I'm gonna make sure again I overlap, go right up to that end, measure that piece out. And this kit is from one of my kits from Science for Kern, where we learn about energy and how energy moves and is transferred through one object to another. So there is my next piece. Now, if you notice, I did it short right there, so I need to make sure, and I want to show you something else that you can do just in case somebody else does the same. I'm going to continue on that corner, but I do know that it's short. So I'm going to show you a little trick to help you just in case we have any problems with students. So I'm going to take a little piece, and so since that's short, what I can do is take another piece on top and put it on, and then still cover that corner, and there's still going to be a connection. So that those are all little tricks that I've learned over time when creating circuits. Now this one is, again, a simple circuit, it's a series circuit. There's also, you can create parallel circuits with this tape. I've seen it where a group of students created like a town, and they had lights all over their town. So it was really cute. Okay, so we have our simple circuit done, except for now we have our LED light. So this LED light, I'm going to open it up so that it's flat. And so since I know you can give students tape, but since I have a little extra copper tape, I'm just going to tape that down, make sure it's a connection, that LED light is connected. And I'm going to put it on both sides to make sure it's nice and fixed in there. So now I have my LED light. So now what I have left to do is a battery. And these are coin batteries that you can pick up at the grocery store, Walmart, Target, you know, anywhere that they're going to sell batteries. And so there is on the battery a positive and negative terminal, just like there is in a larger battery. And if you notice on this paper, there is a diagonal line. So you're going to fold at that diagonal line. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my battery right where the circles are, and then connect those, and then there we go. Now what happens sometimes in troubleshooting is if the student puts the battery in and tries to do it and it doesn't turn on, they're going to of course be upset, but you know, keep trying, flip your battery over, and then your light should work. And another thing too is if they had this LED backwards where the shorter end was on this side, all you're going to do is flip the battery over, and then it should work. So this is a pretty cool circuit to use. It's all updated, but we can do so much more with it. Now there's another type of circuit with lights, the LED, if you don't like students with those points at the end, and it's called Chibitronics. And so Chibitronics is stickers. So what you do is you do have to use, if you notice, you're going to use more copper tape. But they're little stickers that you add in the little gold piece or the copper piece that's on one side and then the other side. And they come in different colors. And all you have to do is go around and then figure out, I got it to work yesterday. And so there definitely is a pretty cool way to get things going. Oh, maybe I need to flip my battery over. Yep, again, that's science. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, and you got to go through and troubleshoot. But again, this is a great tool, and there's a little tiny light on there so that you can light it up. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go back to our slideshow, because there's so much more you can do with circuits. All right. So at-home materials to make a simple circuit, you're going to need copper tape, LED light, and some coin batteries. Now, there's something called a circuit challenge where we could continue learning with that piece with the circuits and challenge students to build something or build a device to use for signals for multiple things. And so we're going to get to that in just a second. So there's a video on here to help you and your students to create that simple circuit, what we just gone through, by two cute little girls. And so what we want to know is we want to know the science behind this experiment. How can we incorporate this into our classroom? So when we look at our science standards, we're looking at energy, and then not only taking this energy piece from electrical circuits, we can also move it into renewable energy and start to go over wind power and solar power. And we definitely want to talk about how it's a system. We can talk about open and closed systems. And we can also talk about how that transfer of energy happens. So if we look at these standards, in first grade, they start to go over light. And so that's really important step that we want to cover. And then by fourth grade, we're looking at how to provide evidence that energy can be transferred from one place to another, and we can use circuits to do that. And so this is a great standard to go over those pieces. Now, in our next standard, still in fourth grade, we are looking at designing something and testing it. So this is like an engineer design process. And so this asterisk at the end of our standard tells us it's time to design. And so we can actually design a piece by using our information that we learned on our circuits. And in middle school, they're looking at designing or developing a model. So they're trying to try and explain what's going on with those electrons as it's moving through the circuit and the amounts of energy that are stored in a system. So this is definitely a great opening experiment to use. So we definitely want to make sure that they understand how the current flows through a circuit. So this is something we can do after the experiment. And then we want to talk about how that energy is transferred. And then as we get into the middle school grades, we're looking at discussing how energy cannot be created or destroyed. So that's something that's really important for middle school. And then of course, when they get into high school, we're talking about physics, and they definitely go over some power and circuits in that step. When we're looking at creating models in middle school, there is a great tool. It's a toy. And so this is an energy ball, and it's just a basic like ping pong ball, but it has two metal strips on it. So if I actually touched a metal strip and then touched another one, it lights up. So it's a great tool. Not only that, as I know in COVID, we can actually put multiple people. So if I touched this end and then touched my hand to somebody else, they touch my hand. So if I hit Elena's hand and then she would touch back and put her finger on this hand, then it would light up because we made a complete circuit. So this is another tool that you can use as a phenomenon piece at the beginning of your lesson, and then come back to it later on and make observations on how did this work compared to the circuit. And then they can relate that, label their parts, and explain. So it's really a cool tool to use, or toy to use. There's another piece, a simulation with the state tests. There are simulations online. And so on PhET simulations, you can create circuits. You can do tons of stuff. Not only that, is you get to add multiple things. So I just showed you earlier lights and a battery. But what if we added a switch to it? And so our switch is added, and then I turn it on. So this is a great way, if you don't have those tools, you can get online and create circuits online. So it's pretty cool. So our last piece we're looking at is we want to look at an extension of the experiment. Here's our engineering design process. We can do a couple things. We can create a card. So with 4th of July, holidays, you're looking at Halloween and Christmas, you can actually create a card with your circuits on the back of the card and then have the light come out. So let's say if it was Christmas, it'd be the light at the top of the tree, and then you can create a tree. Okay, and just like you see with the cupcake in the picture. So again, this is a great extension on top of that. But another extension you can try is by creating a device that uses energy to help you. And with camping and that coming up, how can we create a device to help you in when you go camping? So you can use craft stick. Doesn't matter what size craft stick. How do I create a flashlight with a craft stick? So if remember, we can use the copper tape to put onto the strip, and we can put the light at the end. And so as long as the copper tape is not touching on the end of the light, then we can see if we can add a battery. And then I'm just going to use a large paper clip, and we can see if the light works. And there we go. So then I can walk around, and here's my flashlight. So that's a device that they could definitely create and use for a very long time. And then of course you can get, my color is blue, you can get different colors. So that's circuits for you. And then you can move on to renewable energy too. So thank you.